Sandbox 2.1.0. This was actually an update that rolled out earlier this month, but something we have not covered that was included in that Sandbox update was a buff to SMGs, or a slight buff. Bungie essentially gave us a slight range buff across all our SMGs, and I felt like no SMG to showcase this better than our Year 2 Atalanta-D. Now this was actually a Year 1 SMG. I was a big fan of it. Matter of fact, I felt like this SMG probably could have potentially been top dog if it wasn't for Antioch. Now we're going to go over my role real quick on this Atalanta, and we're going to talk about SMGs and where they sit. Now the role you see here is dynamic sway reduction when holding down the trigger. This weapon's sway reduction system boosts accuracy over time. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, dynamic sway reduction, maybe it serves a purpose on our 900 round per minute SMGs, maybe even our 750s. But considering that intrinsically this is a precision frame SMG and things are more vertical to begin with, I don't necessarily think dynamic sway reduction is the route to go in terms of this final trait. My other trait is Zen Moment, which is really nice. Causing damage with this weapon increases its stability. Ricochet rounds, which is like the perk that made things like Last Hope, Antioch so deadly back in Year 1, definitely still serves a purpose here in extending range as well as stability. And the SC Hollow Sight, which is kind of crazy, as this was like the scope to have on your Antioch. To have this sight on Atalanta, it's got a mean look to it. Now stat-wise, it could be better here. I mean, I've got with Ricochet rounds and this SC Hollow Sight, 68 range. A Masterwork in range would have definitely been beneficial here as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think Antioch could get up somewhere around 80 or 90 something range back in Year 1. Now let's talk about this SMG. Number one, is Atalanta a good SMG? I like it. I think it feels pretty good. It's got some good base stats. I think overall when we compare the Year 2 SMGs, you've got things like Antioch, Bad Reputation, and those have really good perks in terms of range. Atalanta kind of makes up for it more with more stability. So it's got a little more forgiveness there, and it's a little easier to use. Not that the other two SMGs are hard to use. Now TTK wise, for these precision frame SMGs, you're looking at a 0.8 second time to kill at best. Not too hot there. When you compare it to our other SMGs, like a 750 has a 0.67 time to kill if you land all crits. So super unforgiving there. And then you've got things like a 0.73 second time to kill for our 920 impact variant SMGs. But again, those require all crits as well. I mean, all of these are requiring pretty much all crits. Very unforgiving. 600 round per minute SMGs. The good thing about them is they are a little more forgiving, and they all got really good range by default. Now, how does SMGs feel overall since 2.1.0? I think there definitely is somewhat of an improvement. I've noticed some better hit registration, some more stickiness. The gameplay you actually see here is me rocking Peacekeepers with two different SMGs. I got the Atalanta-D and a Bad Reputation. Both of them are really good. But despite both of them being really good, when going up against good players that has shotguns and knows how to move around the map, as a Titan without any juking capabilities, like I'm not on a hunter, I'm not jumping in the air, this is just me flat-footed, I felt like I was getting popped left and right. And I'm not saying I couldn't get kills, it was just whenever I had someone push me with a shotgun and they were moving right, they were aggressive, and I just felt like the time to kill for this SMG was just not fast enough. Now, I don't know if anyone wants an SMG meta to begin with, but my mindset is that everything should be viable. Everything should have somewhat of a fighting chance. We reviewed things like sidearms this past season, and sidearms feel good. When you start looking at those weapons, things like Last Dance, that sidearm gets down to a TTK value of 0.5 seconds. Drain, even though it's stuck in Year 1, still has a 0.6 second time to kill. And the worst one out of all of them, which is Smuggler's Word, has a 0.73 second time to kill. But it still eats people up. It still has great range, and on top of that, it's super forgiving, which takes me back to SMGs. Yes, we got a buff in range, which is nice, but that's not where this weapon is supposed to shine. You see, the more we keep buffing the range of these SMGs, the more muddy it starts to get in terms of auto rifles and SMGs. I mean, essentially right now, an SMG can do everything a 720 round per minute auto rifle can do, and probably better, which is really not what they are designed for. It's not what they're supposed to be doing. What they're supposed to be doing is they need to be a meat grinder of a weapon up close. They need to be purely for close quarter combat and shutting shotguns down. And I hear people say they don't want an SMG meta. I can promise you that won't happen. There's too many people that are married to their shotguns. So my overall thought on this buff is that it's not enough. It actually needs some damage tweaks, make it more forgiving forgiving, maybe even make its body shot time to kill a little faster. But these buffs to range that we keep handing out to these SMGs is doing nothing more than diluting the value of auto rifles. So guys, that is my thoughts on the range buff to SMGs. These weapons, in order for them to compete, just mathematically are going to have to do better. They're going to have to hit harder, and they're going to have to get TTK values almost in line with sidearms. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.